Chapter 10. Zhang Taishan, an army recruit from North China, wrote a big 0 on his college exam paper, accompanied by the following words: "To make revolution, one need not answer above questions." Instantly, he became a hero throughout China, epitomizing the true spirit of the Cultural Revolution. School became chaos. Everyone ran around mindlessly, doing nothing. Teachers could do almost nothing to remedy the situation for fear of being branded stinking intellectuals or counter-revolutionaries. Our fifth grade classes were made up of 3 categories: labor, politics, and self-study. We dug up the playground and turned it into vegetable plots so that young kids could labor under the scorching sun and have empty but healthy minds. We had to bring all the necessary tools to water, weed, and harvest the vegetables, then sell our crop back to the teachers at a discount, using the money to buy more seeds and plant more vegetables. In the political science classes, teachers read the newspaper to students. When we were left to study on our own, the chairs became hurdles. We jumped them and counted the minutes until it was time to go home. Every day after class, Dad read me classics that we had buried under the pigsty. In the mornings, I learned to play the bamboo flute. Dad said a real scholar should know poetry, chess, calligraphy, and music. The flute was the cheapest thing to study. Dad bought me one from the local market. At sunrise every morning, I got up, pulled the skinny bamboo flute from under my pillow, and tiptoed into the backyard and down the steps that led to the Dongjing River. I'd wash my face with the refreshing water and postpone my morning bowel movement because it gave me more power as I blew the flute. Each day, I broke the silence of the morning in Yellowstone, standing by the river and playing innocent folk melodies. The sound bounced off the water, crossed the vast green fields, and ended in a lingering echo as it reached the mountains on the horizon. The occasional mooing from the buffalo told me that at least someone was listening. One day, Dad came back from a month's stay at a labor camp and rushed to the backyard where I was practicing. "Son, you played beautifully now," he said, surprised. He gathered me into his arms and roughed me up excitedly. I hardly believed my ears as I walked along the fields. I could hear you a mile away from here. "Dad, do you really like it?" I asked. "Like it? I love it. I think with a little tuning here and there, you're ready to perform in an amateur troupe somewhere and eventually graduate to a professional one." "Do you want me to be a professional?" "Well, school is doing nothing now, not with that Zhang something guy in fashion. It's wonderful that you have a skill. You have an edge over others." From then on, I practiced even harder, much to the annoyance of my family, and I began to hang around the rehearsal hall of our commune's performing group. In the evenings, I would invite my friends to come to me to the rehearsals at the commune. They went and clung to the windows for a glimpse of the young and pretty actresses and laughed their heads off when those pretty things teased each other and giggled in sing-song voices. There was an outstanding, arrogant flautist in the troupe from Poutine City who was paid to be the music director of the orchestra. He was a woodwind expert and could even play the French horn. Every morning, he demanded at least 5 precious eggs. For lunch, half a chicken. And for dinner, lots of pork and another 5 eggs. He said playing the French horn and the flute used up all his energy and he needed the nutrients. Hungry kids actually trooped by to sniff his French horn, which smelled like eggs. I copied his techniques and replayed the music by ear. At Yi's, my friends would listen to my flute and smoke in silence. As my interest in music grew, I became fascinated with the violin. The first time I heard one, I was picking grains of rice from the muddy rice fields under a summer sun. The commune had set up a crackling loudspeaker at the edge of the fields and played a simple violin solo through it. The music was supposed to cheer the farmers, and I fell head over heels in love with it. It was sensuous and tender and caressed my soul in a way that no instrument had done before. I stood there holding the dripping rice, lost in the beauty of the music. "Go to work," a farmer's voice behind me urged. She was the opposite of what a violin was. I bent down again and went on working, the melody resonating deep in my soul. I wanted to learn that instrument, but how? Once again, Dad came through like a champ. This time, he contacted a young man named Song, originally from the city of Poutine. He was the son of a Christian dentist who had died in jail, and he had taken over his father's old practice. The family had been labeled counter-revolutionaries because of their dogged belief in God and had been sent to live in exile in Heng Tang, a tiny village near Yellowstone. Dad heard of Song on one of his visits to a patient who was a neighbor of Song's and who had complained often about the strange foreign music the young man played at night. Having met with Song, Dad reported that the young man had readily agreed to teach me the basics if I was willing to walk there every day during summer vacation. The 5th grade finished without expected finals and report cards. Everyone graduated, but whether I was going to high school remained a mystery. Politics was in. Grades were out. My fate stood undecided, wavering in the wind like a blade of grass along the Dongjing River. Heng Tang was nestled at the foot of Hugong Mountain. When the sky was overcast, the village floated like a mirage among the clouds. When it rained, it totally disappeared. During the summer, it was hidden under the thick foliage of persimmon trees, but in the spring, the village blossomed like a wild garden. I finally arrived at Mr. Song's dental office in an old temple at the edge of the village. "Da right?" Song greeted me warmly, taking off his surgical mask. He had just finished with a teary-eyed young boy who was being comforted by his mom. "Mr. Song, how did you know it was me?" "The violin." He smiled and revealed the whitest teeth I'd ever seen. I suppose it came with the business. I smiled back, hiding my teeth, regretting not having brushed them again before coming. I studied him as he washed his hands and hung up his white coat. He was in his 20s, fair-skinned and good-looking, with long hair that touched his collar. He wore a pair of tight, bell-bottom trousers and a silk shirt, a city dude to the bone. "A barefooted violinist," he said, smiling at me. "Let's see what you've got there." I took out the violin, and he plucked a few notes on it, adjusted the pegs, redid the bridge, tightened the bow, then cradled it between his neck and shoulder. He closed his eyes, and a soothing melody flowed out of my instrument. His fingers ran quickly along the strings, up and down, and the bow jumped, making curt sounds. I was amazed at his skill and was falling in love with the music when he stopped suddenly. "You got a great violin here." He put it down carefully. "Smoke?" I shook my head. "Want to be an artist?" I nodded, not knowing where he was heading. "Then take one." He threw me a filtered cigarette and lit it for me with a lighter. I puffed on it and inhaled deeply. "I'm no teacher. Don't call me teacher or anything, but I could use a friend like you." He looked out his small window, then at a pile of dentures lying on his messy desk. "It's boring here. In fact, if you want to be a dentist, I can teach you that as well. I have plenty of time on my hands, and all these teeth need to be filled to fit into a patient's mouths." "I'll do the violin first," I replied, "but I can help with your work during my break." "No need," I was joking. It didn't take me long to like him. The next few days I spent walking around his office, holding my violin between my shoulder and neck and practicing bowing. It was a painful experience that made my neck swell and my left shoulder raw, but he kept saying I was making progress. He showed me pictures of stone busts of Beethoven and Mozart and told me stories about them, amazing stories. I practiced constantly and was making fast progress, which Mom and Dad noticed with considerable pride. To thank Song, Mom would sometimes ask me to bring fruit and meat to him, and Dad sent him cartons of cigarettes and liquor, gifts given to him by his acupuncture patients. Song would cook the food I brought and ask me to stay for dinner, then send me home on his bike in the evening. Sometimes, when his mother was visiting his brothers, I'd bring a lot of food and stay for the weekend. There would be no violin lessons or any other music during those times. We would go hunting. Near the end of the summer, Song said, "Da, there isn't much I can teach you anymore. From here on, you have to practice and just figure it out yourself. Besides, school is starting soon, right?" "I'm not sure I'm going to high school." "What do you mean?" "Of course you're going. You're so young." "I haven't got my notice yet. Others already did." I hung my head. Come on, young fellow, don't feel bad. You could always come to learn dentistry with me. Kids are learning nothing in school now anyway, he smiled. But I want you to come visit me on the weekends, and I'll take you to Poutine to meet some of the coolest young musicians in the city, I promise. Finally, I was issued a notice stating that after careful consideration by the Commune Education Board, I would not be given the opportunity to pursue my schooling any further. Neither was I allowed to do so at any other schools in another commune. No reason given, no reason needed. A patient of Dad's secretly told us that the board's reason was simple. My ancestors and family had enough education. It was time we made do without more. I felt sad and isolated again. Everyone in my school went on to high school, even the worst of the students. I couldn't go because my dad had gone to college, as had my grandpa. What kind of reasoning was that? Why did I have to carry the burden of my parents' generation? Mom prayed day and night, promising 3 chickens and 4 piglets to Buddha if any high school accepted me. I promised 1,000 kowtows on my own. And then good news came in an unusual way. Dad's regular guest, the sugarcane farmer, casually mentioned that he had delivered some high-quality fresh canes to the high school last night because the almighty principal's aging father had just had a stroke. The only thing he could eat was juice squeezed from the fresh sugar cane. The principal was upset and restless and didn't know what to do. That evening at dinner, a young high school teacher came hurriedly to our house and wanted to meet Dad privately. Dad took him into our back room. 5 minutes later, Dad emerged and said he was going to see the principal's father right away because the patient was still in critical condition. He came back late. The news was good. I would be in the 4th group in the grade 1 of junior high a month later. The delay was due to the specific order from the commune that I was not to be admitted under any condition. They would sneak me in after all the hubbub died down. I thanked Dad and then crawled quietly to the attic, got on my knees, and kowtowed a whopping 1,005 times. 5 extra were done to make up for any possible miscalculation in the hasty up and down motions.